Hello, and thank you for joining our webinar today with Ideal Boilers on their implementation of scheduling and capacity management. My name is Heather Mills, and I am the Director of Corporate Marketing at ServicePower. Please note that today's webinar was pre-recorded. If you have any questions following the webinar, please email h.mills@servicepower.com, and we will respond as soon as possible. Now, I would like to introduce you to our presenter for today. We're happy to welcome Chris Jessup, the Customer Service Director for Ideal Boilers. Chris has worked in the industry for 30 years and brings with him a wealth of industry knowledge on field service management. We are thrilled to have him speak today on his experience with ServicePower. And now over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Heather. As Heather said, I'm Chris Jessup. I'm the Customer Services Director for Ideal Boilers. Ideal Boilers is one of the many group companies within Groupe Atlantic. Groupe Atlantic purchased Ideal Boilers in 2015, adding Ideal Boilers and Keston Boilers to their portfolio of heating products for both electrical panel heaters, gas boiler heaters, and renewable energy. The company's overall turnover is in excess of 1.8 billion, with 25 industrial sites based over many countries. We operate and supply goods into 70 countries around the world. Within this, Ideal Boilers sits in the UK, Republic of Ireland, and North America division. Ideal Boilers is the biggest part of that group. Ideal Boilers has a long history in the manufacturing of boilers. It was founded in 1906 on this very site that I'm talking to you from today in Hull in the UK. During 2009, we launched our most successful product range, being the Ideal Logic boiler. We've now sold in excess of 2 million of these boilers. In 2013, we also launched another product called the Ideal Vogue range of products, which in the UK has got an industry-leading 12-year warranty. In 2013, we also won the Queen's Award for Enterprise for Innovation. In 2019, we were a double winner of the Queen's Award, which is something we are very proud of as a business. One of the key elements to the success of the Queen's Award and the growth of the business has been our investment in customer services, which during this year we spent over £4 million of an investment into customer services, of which ServicePower is an intrinsic and key part of that. I'll explain why very shortly. Just wanted to go over some of the history. We've worked with ServicePower as a company for over 20 years now. We first put ServicePower into our customer services operation in 1999. It was part of a key initiative at the time, which we've continued to continuously improve the customer experience and also the efficiency and visibility of our engineers. In 1999, when we first put this system in, it was a very much of a smaller team of people that were dealing with our customers. We had engineers that at that time the technology was fax machines and very slow dial-up computers. There was very little control and visibility over what was actually happening in the field, and certainly no idea of how we would schedule customers' appointments, which was one of the key elements to the initial implementation of ServicePower, which gave us the ability to provide our customers with a promise that we could meet, that enabled us to give a diary appointment that ensured that we attended within the right time frame. Over that 20 years, we've worked very closely with ServicePower to upgrade the systems and to enhance the way that we operate within there, including the implementation of tracker visibility into the system. We've now improved the efficiency of our engineers from when we first started in 1999 by over 200%, which is a phenomenal achievement. Given that our warranty population that we look after has grown from less than 100,000 to now it's over 1.5 million customers. On top of there, we have one-off customers and contract customers which have boilers that are out of warranty that we're also looking after, which takes that customer base to over 2 million. Just to give it some scale as to where we are currently with the number of appointments that we're booking on an annual basis, we're close to 200,000 appointments that we're booking through the system currently. Our current system that we have has been very, very good and has lasted the test of time, but it has now become a bottleneck to growing any further. And it's now preventing us from moving forward with some of the initiatives that we would like to do so to improve that customer experience and customer excellence, which we see in the industry as being one of the key differentiators for any brand. So 3 years ago, the overall group set on a strategy of looking at a new system for the group. The ultimate decision on that was made to actually look at two products. Salesforce.com provides us with the service management system, the sales elements of the system, and a marketing. We have a concept which we call a 360-degree view, which enables us to have customer data that we can then share all the way through the chain to ensure that we're best placed to support our customers and that we're more aligned with our customers' requirements, which is a key element to the Salesforce products. The financials for the business will be remaining with SAP. So we have an environment that was initially set up that will look as Salesforce.com and SAP. The product set that we're looking to use is the current version of Salesforce.com for service, which is a product called Field Service Lightning. That runs on our iPads, which we're rolling out to our engineers. We're in the process now of finalising the user acceptance testing and a part of the build phase, and we will be looking to roll this system out as soon as we're out of the peak heating season. The boiler industry is very, very seasonal, as you can imagine, and in the winter period, the workload increases by almost double over the quieter, warmer periods, which is why we will now look to push this in probably around Easter time. One of the key elements that we looked at within this, which is absolutely critical to any business, is the ability to schedule your engineers and to be confident that your engineers remain efficient so that you have enough capacity to manage the requirements that you have from your customer base, allowing you to grow that customer base and allowing you to manage any peaks and troughs within that demand efficiently. We came across a number of issues with the inbuilt scheduling tool within the Salesforce environment. The main one is what I'm going to focus on today, is capacity management. A couple of the other ones that we will touch on was managing what we classify as agents, which are some subcontractors that we use at times of peak or for certain jobs, which require a different scheduling strategy. The inbuilt Salesforce product was very basic in managing these and provided a blocker to actually achieve what we wanted to do. Additionally, we found that the system was quite slow at coming back with appointments, which was adding a few seconds to our overall handling time for a customer on the phone, which is deteriorating their experience. So we wanted to actually see what we could do within there. Following discussions with the team at ServicePower with the issues that we faced, we sat down with the team and came together as a project team very quickly and in a very agile manner to look at the current product set of ServicePower, which did meet the requirements that we had. And very quickly we built an interface between the ServicePower platform and Salesforce. That work, I have to say, was incredibly good, and the team were incredibly responsive with that. In a matter of weeks, we had the two products talking together very well. We've subsequently enhanced that interface further to give us some additional functionality, but within a 6-week period, from nothing, we had a system up and running, which was incredible. Just picking up on the issue with capacity, as we said, it was a massive issue for us. Depending on the business sector that you operate in, capacity may or may not cause you such a problem. For us, we have two key elements of work. One is repair work, which is reactive work, where somebody may have an issue with a boiler that requires repairing. Especially during colder spells, the requirement to react to that very quickly is immense. Coupled with that, we have planned work, which is annual services to boilers, health checks, etc. For us to manage the diaries efficiently and keep engineers working efficiently, we have to have a system which allows us to manage both sets of work types. On the slide here, it shows a very basic example of how quickly your diaries can become full without any controls over the diary. So typically, we would manage our workload for service work or the planned work by sending out mail shots to the companies and the homeowners who have a requirement for us to service their boilers, asking them to either contact us via telephone or email or via our website to actually book the service in, without having a concept of managing those capacities. What it shows within this simple diagram is effectively, if we've been very successful at sending out mailers, we could very quickly swamp the diaries with services, which then means that any reactive work we have will not fit in the diary without having to then go back and disappoint customers and cancel work. And this is critical for us to ensure that we provide a good level of service. The next slide shows, in simple terms, working with ServicePower, what we can do. And it's very simple in the process that allows us to set variable levels of capacity that we can hold for varying work types. This diagram shows two work types on here. What we're actually setting up on our system is the third stream within the repair work. So the example on here says that we will only allow 25% of the diaries to be utilized for planned work. So it will allow us to actually ensure that we can be confident in sending the mailers out in the way that we have done. We can be confident that the diaries will then fill to the expected levels, allowing then the slots for the repair work. So the way that it works is from 0 to 25%, the system will offer an appointment for a service. Between 0 and 100% of the available slots, it will allow repair works to be booked in. This works very, very well for us. What this doesn't show you on the diagram, but is very simplistic in the way that it works, is that capacity can be changed on a daily basis. We can forecast that into the future. We can even run it for different capacities for different days of the week. For example, weekends for us is a premium from a cost perspective. So we would only undertake a very, very small amount of planned work that has to be done, so that the entire diaries for the weekend are focused around repair work. Within the setup that we're looking to set up for our systems, we've split the repair work into two levels. We've actually kept a small amount of capacity back for vulnerable customers. So our standard repair work, we are setting to book up to 90%, and then we will book up to 100% for vulnerable customers. So what that does is it ensures that even during times of peak demands, we can always have slots available that for any emergency customers that we do have, that we can get into there. So if we can just move on to the next slide. This is all controlled through the service manager. For service manager, as I've said, we are setting up 3 categories. You can set up to 5 categories, and you can have a nominal duration against each job for those. We use nominal durations for both. So for us, we will use a nominal duration of 45 minutes for service work, typically, and we'll use an hour for repair work. That can be superseded through the actual work types and skill sets we have set up within the service manager, which allows for a more accurate level, but that allows the capacity to be set that allows this to work correctly. Previous to this, we had a simpler version that we used through ServicePower, which was called band capacity, which we could set on an engineer's day an allowance of one of a job type to be booked, which was the planned work. Capacity gives us a far more effective and a far greater way of controlling the diaries to ensure that we're then not having to spend time with agents looking at ringing outbound calls to fill diaries or having to move jobs around unnecessarily. It also allows us to ensure that our diaries remain full and our use of subcontractors remains within our budget levels that we would expect during those time frames. If we move on to the next slide, you can see on here a diagram of effectively how that can be flexed across the weeks and the days of a week, so that effectively the weekends can be simplistically you can either have all planned work or no planned work within that. These can be varied very, very easily, and they can also be varied for periods in advance, so that we can set a pattern for the winter period, a pattern for the summer period, and also a pattern that manages peak demands. So if we can just move on to the next screen. Capacity can also be set at 3 levels. We're intending to use this at the field reporting unit, which means that effectively it gives us greater flexibility over the entire team. Our field reporting unit that's set up is a national team with 150 engineers based within there. You can split that into teams and you can have different capacities for different teams. You can also set that up individually for individual engineers, which allows engineers to have varying levels of demand depending on the engineer's specific requirements. We've taken the approach of looking at this on an FIU level on the basis of balancing the management of this and the flexibility it offers against managing different teams and individual engineers. And given the size of team and complexity of what we're working with, which is not that complex, I would always suggest looking at the top level on these, which is what we've done on the basis of this capacity level planning at the field reporting unit. So if we move on to the next slide. So as I've said earlier, we are looking to roll out this new version with Salesforce at Easter 2020. In the meantime, we're working very closely with ServicePower's team at the moment to actually roll this out with our current system, which is something that we're very close to being able to roll out, and I would expect that within the next 4 weeks we will be using this capacity model within our current systems. The expected level of improvement is great from there. But Ideal Bodies isn't a company sit back and rest on its laurels. We're looking at where we go next with this. The next level of integration that we're looking at with the capacity model is effectively, it's one that's very exciting, which is ServicePower's latest version has an integrated weather feed, which can intelligently allow us to have an automated capacity management level that will tweak to meet reactive demands. So if we're seeing that in 2 weeks' time that we're expecting a severe weather area, it will alter the shift patterns to allow less planned work in there and focus completely on the predicted level of repair work that we expect to come through. That we see again is another exciting level of ensuring that ServicePower continues to help us strive to drive customer excellence. Additionally to this, the latest version of the travel allows for the weather feed to influence journey times, which we expect to be extended, and in the past could lead to customers being let down due to a lack of travel in certain areas. Again, looking to the future and working with ServicePower, we're looking at 3 key elements that we will be looking to build into our plans for 2020. One being able to fully track the engineers so that we can see their travel, provide access to that via a web portal, allowing for third-party companies that have engineers that are located in multiple areas so that we can actually have a truly hybrid mixed workforce, with tracking being the key to where those are. Linked to that will be the customer portal that we're looking to utilise, which the ServicePower offering looks a really good fit to us internally and links very easily to the product, which will allow us to actually manage that work very, very simplistically and then give customers full visibility of exactly what's going on with their repair or their service, where the engineer is, give more intuitive information around what time engineer will be with that customer, and also provide a feedback channel which is expected to cut down some of the telephone traffic we experience into the contact centre, which will drive, again, customer improved experience as well as help reduce costs. We're also looking at the service dispatch module on 2 elements. One is it will allow us further improvement on our management of agents, as well as to increase functionality for the hybrid workforce within that, and allow us to actually look to utilise this to link some of our third-party clients in to allow them to drop demand work directly onto our diaries rather than actually have to send us a work request that we then book in. So again, it's all about driving that customer experience and removing the need for double handling of certain types of work within that. Our subcontracted network, as we said earlier on, requires a different scheduling strategy, which effectively that strategy for us will actually remove the need to give individual engineers an individual license within the system. Service dispatch, once we move our subcontractors onto this platform, will make managing that demands much easier. They can give us a capacity of the level of jobs that they can accept. They can simply then be passed through to those subcontractors to allow us to actually manage that work without having to consider issues around travel, especially that some of the larger subcontractors who may cover a large region, which currently the travel would be measured from their office without using the ServicePower solution that we've got in place. So that, in a nutshell, is what we're looking at to actually manage the future from where we are as a business. So hope that's given you a useful insight into how we're looking to actually utilise the products in the future, as well as how strategically important this is to us. And I would reiterate that initial start of 200% efficiency, which we have seen over the last 20 years, and through the solutions that we're looking to put into place, we are looking to drive that even further. So I'd like to thank you for your time today, listening to this. And as Heather said earlier on, if you have any questions or like any further information, please email Heather, and I will happily provide you any answers that you require. Thank you.